Coming up on City Spotlight, we are on location in Mattoon. We'll talk with Dean Barber, Public Works Director in Mattoon, about the role of the Public Works Department and some recent, current, and future projects being worked on in Mattoon. Then it's over to Lytle Park, and Justin Grady of the Mattoon Township Park District fills us in on the work done on the new age area of Lytle Park. And we'll end the program with sights and sounds from the 33rd Bagelfest. It's all about Mattoon, here on City Spotlight. City Spotlight is supported by Consolidated Communications. CCI is honored to salute the cities and their leaders in the area, as well as providing TV, internet, and phone service to local homes and businesses. We live where we work and are proud to support the communities we serve. More information available at consolidated.com. And welcome to another edition of City Spotlight. We're on location for this episode in Mattoon. We are taping here in the Mattoon Train Depot, and in this first segment, we're going to talk all about Mattoon Public Works. And we welcome to the program for the first time Dean Barber. He's the Mattoon Public Works Director. Welcome to the program, Dean.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time here on City Spotlight. We've talked about public works on many, many episodes of City Spotlight, especially here on Mattoon. And we've talked to Mayor Gover recently in the past month or two, and we're going to catch up on some of the current public works projects and future projects. But you're a first-time guest of the program, Dean. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, please?
Certainly. I'm originally from Southern Indiana. I went to school at Purdue University. I'm a civil engineer. I moved to the Charleston-Mattoon area back in 1986 and have been working here for 32 years.
All right, 30 plus years in the Coles County area. Very good. As I mentioned, we've talked public works many times here on City Spotlight, so it's great to have a public works director here with us. And Dean, for our folks at home, that they probably know what public works is, but can you tell us about what a public works department is and also what your role is with that?
Okay. The Public Works Department consists of the engineering department, where we do design and construction management. We have the street department, a utility department that takes care of water mains and sanitary sewers and storm sewers. We also have a water treatment plant and a wastewater treatment plant.
And as far as you are the director of the public, so what are your responsibilities within the Public Works Department?
So my responsibilities are to oversee design, construction, maintenance, daily operations.
Okay. As far as public works projects, some of them are planned years in advance, I would presume, yes. And some of them take quite a while. Like we'll talk about Marshall Avenue, which is a three-phase project. Mm-hmm. It's been taking a while. But as far as executing projects that have been set up many months or years in advance, what are those like? And also, what is it like when you have a new project that comes about as a result of weather?
So in terms of planning, the most important thing we try and do in Public Works is keep a balance between priorities and not overcommit to streets one year and sidewalks the next year to where you tend to fall behind. So we try and our priorities are street work, sidewalk work, recreation like bike trail projects that we've talked a little bit about, building rehab and expansion and maintenance at our treatment plants, our water treatment plant, our wastewater plant.
And so when you have a unexpected project that has to be taken care of, such as a weather causes a problem, how is that handled, and how, for example, flooding or too much rain, how quickly are you guys able to adapt to that and respond to that?
So we have plenty of that. We take care of snowfall and ice in the winter, water main breaks, storm events throughout the year. There's 34 of us in Public Works. There are plenty of us to respond to the issues at hand. One of the most important things is to make sure that you keep some significant portion of your workforce focused on the bigger goals and continuing forward on the priorities as opposed to getting too distracted by the problem of the day.
All right, very good. You just mentioned there the size of your staff, which is 34. You've been with the Mattoon Public Works Department 7 years now.
Yes.
And you told me prior to taping, one of the challenges that you face is being able to balance all the work of the year. Can you elaborate on that for us, please?
As I mentioned, the primary job in public works is to maintain a balance between your different priorities. And so any time that you pick up a piece of paper and a pencil and you start working on a sidewalk project, you're neglecting a street project, or a water main feels like you're neglecting a street project or a water main project. And so mainly it's setting yourself up at the beginning of the year where you are taking care of a good balance of work, where you're addressing all the priorities for a community. To some people, sidewalks are the most important things that you do. To other people, it might be recreation or the care of maintenance of buildings. And so one of our most important priorities is to make sure that we're spreading our focus on all of those things.
Okay, very good. As Mayor Tim Gover told us recently here on City Spotlight, the new Public Works building opened up this past spring. And from your perspective, Dean, that new facility, talk about that new addition for the Public Works Department to work out of.
Okay. It's a really nice facility. Our old building was very small. We actually had to store vehicles away in multiple locations. We now have 3/4 of an acre under roof so that we can have all of our equipment inside. The main benefit there is when we are reacting to emergency situations, like you mentioned, a water main break in the winter or plowing snow, that our guys are not spending time in the smaller building. We had to intricately park all of the vehicles to squeeze them all into the building. And they weren't moving 3 vehicles to get to the 1 vehicle that they needed for an emergency now.
So time is saved by having this bigger facility.
When we walk in the door in the middle of the night, we're ready to roll. Everybody jumps in their vehicles and we can roll out the door.
So major addition for not only the Public Works Department, for the city of Mattoon as well. Let's talk about some of the projects that you have been working on, and one of them was a new parking lot. When we talked with Mayor Tim Gover here recently on City Spotlight, was being worked on by DeBurr's, Broadway Avenue there, and it is now complete, and that's 60 new available parking spots in downtown Mattoon. Can you talk about that, please?
Yeah, and so one of our big picture focuses is the downtown area, and the city itself started a really strong emphasis on improving the downtown. In 2005, they created a TIF district whereby business owners could receive grants from the city to reinvest in their property. Since that time, we fixed up this building, the Amtrak Depot downtown, several parking lots around town, the YMCA, the parking lot outside of this building, Progress Square. We just finished last year a park project that was paid for by a donation from the Lumpkin Family Foundation. And this year we finished a new parking lot behind DeBurr's, House Brothers, and Villa Pizza.
Very good. And I believe that project you were referencing was Heritage Park.
Yes.
Very good. Yes, we've talked about that as well. One project that we've talked on more times than I can count here on City Spotlight in the last couple of years is Marshall Avenue. That work is ongoing. Phase 2 is currently going on, and Phase 3 will be completed next year. How is that work going as we're taping here on July 23rd?
It's going very well. Benish Construction is the roadway contractor that is going to be completing the improvements. They start work on Friday.
Okay.
Our crews are completing water main work in advance of construction, moving a water main that was going to be underneath the pavement. They are working in around 13th Street right now on the north side of the road. Overall, the project, this phase, we are reconstructing Marshall Avenue from 9th Street to 14th Street. 2 years ago, we did from 6th Street to 9th Street, and 2 years from now, we will finish the project out from 14th to 17th.
Folks at home are seeing this episode at the beginning of August, so do you anticipate the work for the time being, Phase 2, to stop prior to school starting? Because Marshall Avenue, obviously, as we know, is a major road in Mattoon.
No, we'll be working well into the winter this year.
Okay.
We expect to have most of the project complete this year. We will have the road open for whatever duration there is a break in construction activities for winter, and then we will finish out the project first thing in the spring.
Okay, very good. Thank you for that update. Timetable there on Marshall Avenue work. Dean, you also mentioned sidewalk work just recently, and you wanted to talk a little bit about the sidewalk work in Mattoon. Can you tell us about Mattoon and being a walkable community?
We do. We have a program called the Walkable Community Program, which is how we identify which sidewalks are going to be our priorities from year to year. It's not possible for us or any other city to improve every sidewalk in town. And so what we have is a map, a long-range plan of sidewalks to improve such that every resident is within 2 or 3 blocks of a good sidewalk for walking for recreation with their family. And so this year's work is on Champaign Avenue from 22nd Street to 27th Street. That project's out to bids right now. We expect to finish that work near the end of October. It connects overall to a series of sidewalk projects that we've done on that end of town as well.
All right, Champaign Avenue, those streets you mentioned, western part of Mattoon there. And something else that we've kind of hit on with Charleston, and I think maybe once or twice here on Mattoon episodes, is some trail work that'll be done between Charleston and Mattoon. I understand there's a joint grant that is there for a bike trail. Can you talk about Mattoon's end and the overall project, what you can tell us?
Certainly. And so the city of Mattoon and the city of Charleston applied together for a grant, received an $800,000 grant from, it's a federal grant administered by IDOT. And that grant is going to pay for resurfacing of the gravel portions of the bike trail between Mattoon and Charleston. We are also extending the west end of the trail in Mattoon. It currently ends at 10th Street near our sports complex, and we're going to be extending it to 16th Street, which is essentially the front door of the YMCA.
Right.
And then we'll have pavement markings through the parking lot, paths, bike routes through the parking lot to the door of this facility to connect to the Amtrak depot. On the east end of the project, we are connecting the bike trail to EIU in the downtown area in Charleston by virtue of dedicated bike lanes and shared bike lanes on 6th and 7th Streets.
All right, very good. Are there any other projects coming in the near future that you can tell us of here before we wrap up with you, Dean?
I think that's about all the projects that we're going to be able to get out for this year, with the exception of we have a lot of work going at our treatment plants. We have a project out to bid right now to build a new storage tank outside of our water treatment plant. Bids for that project come in the middle of August. It'll take about 1.5 years to complete. It is part of a bigger picture series of projects to improve how we chlorinate the water and how we process water to make it hold onto chlorine levels better in the system.
Okay, very good. So some pending projects, so a lot to catch up with you in the future. As my final question for you, Dean, here, you're Public Works Director, and you see a lot of Mattoon with a lot of the projects that you're involved in. Talk about working in this community. What do you enjoy about working here in Mattoon, Illinois?
One of my favorite parts of working here in Mattoon is the downtown area. Again, we've had a big focus here in this area for 5 to 6 years before I came to work here. The improvements on this building, the improvements on the YMCA parking lot preceded me. But if I see any part of town that really, to me, captures this is what Mattoon is, it is the downtown area. We've also recently finished a series of improvements to Burgess Osborne Auditorium, which is essentially the community center for the town. And we've made improvements to it on the interior and the exterior both. Very nice facility, built in the 50s, and taking care of it and making it look nice, similar to the work that's been done here in the depot.
Burgess Osborne was on the very last Mattoon episode we had just a month or two ago. Dean Barber, the Public Works Director for the City of Mattoon, we appreciate your time here on City Spotlight.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And coming up next here on City Spotlight, this on-location episode of Mattoon, we'll change locations, we'll leave the depot and catch up on what's going on at Lytle Park with Justin Grady. But first, let's take a look at some of the upcoming activities going on in Mattoon. And we're back here on City Spotlight, this on-location episode on Mattoon. As you can see, we're outside now at Lytle Park, and we welcome back to the program a familiar guest, Justin Grady with the Mattoon Township Park District. Welcome back to the program, Justin.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Good to see you again. And we're not too far from when we taped last year. There's some new things going on. Obviously, the grants came through, and you worked on a new playground. And behind us, tell us what we have behind us.
Behind us we have the new AGE area, AGE standing for Active Green Environment. That was the part of the grant application that got us the grant award of $400,000, so it was well worth it. The idea behind it came from the University of Illinois, the Department of Kinesiology working with the Landscape Architect School, and looking for ways to create things to do in a park other than playgrounds, picnic tables, where there was a little bit of activity, and the activity is really kind of called stealth exercise. So we've got changes in elevation of up to 3 feet. We've got sidewalks that tilt from side to side a little bit, all using different core muscles, stairways, and then we've got a number of components here that offer other choices of exercise in different ways.
When we taped about 13, 14 months ago, we were standing in front of the playground, and that was mostly done for the most part.
Yep.
The new AGE area was kind of really getting going here, so this is a beautiful transformation. I see a gazebo, I see all kinds of things. What are some of the highlights of it?
Okay, so we have bird feeders that the community can access, a box over there that's got bird seed in it, so they're manually raising and lowering the bird feeders. There's a well pump that you can pump, and it pushes water underground that fills voids in 2 boulders that are carved out as bird baths. We have a couple bocce ball courts, which is lawn bowling, so it requires you to bend and roll and bend over and pick up. Over behind my shoulder here, there's what looks like a kind of a piped structure.
Yes.
And it's for using TheraBands, the exercise rubber bands,
right.
For physical therapy. And the big circle behind me is a yoga circle. The YMCA and a couple of other individual yoga instructors do classes out here during the week. The WISE is a regular one, which is every Sunday from 4 to 5.
So to say there's a few things that people can do just in the new AGE era is an understatement.
And there's more. You know, a lot of these gardens have just gotten planted this year, but a lot of it's native prairie plants or native to this area. Some of them are shade plants, so they're not prairie, but they are native to the area. So in 2-3 years, those will grow up and fill in, making really nice, natural-looking gardens. And we've got 20 raised bed gardens back there that are for community gardening, and the garden shed that we make accessible to people.
We're taping this here on July 23rd. Folks will see this at home on the beginning of August. Is the work over here with the new AGE area, looks pretty close to complete to me, but
everything that was on the grant application is completed. Okay. Our bid came in low, so we added a few features that we did not include in the bid packet, which we're working on right now. One of them is going to be an information kiosk, but it will have sliding panels, so you'll have to raise your arms to move the panels to get to all the information, more stealth exercise. We also have a little free library here.
Wonderful.
There's only 3 registered with the Little Free Library organization in Coles County, and this is one, and one's at my house, and one's at the acting director of the library's house, just a block down the street.
All right, fantastic. So one more thing about the new AGE area, I'm going to pick up on one of your comments that you gave me at the very end of last year's interview. Was of all the work that was being done here at this time last year, you were most excited about this. Why was that?
Well, you know, a pavilion is a pavilion. It can look great, you can add some extra features to it, but it's still a pavilion. Same thing with playground equipment. We've added really unique playground equipment, but it's still a playground. This is something that has not been done before. Before we did this project, there were very few sidewalks in the grass area. The main pathway through the park is a roadway, and that's where everybody walked. People with walkers, people with strollers, people with their bikes, scooters, all that. We've added a number of pathways here with sidewalks.
Just a few.
Yeah, and it has been a great hit. People come into the park. There are some elderly people that come and park right here and just do different weavings through this sidewalk here where they know they don't have to compete with traffic, which is really great. So we got our grant our grant award reimbursement this spring, and this fall we're going to start adding more extensions on these sidewalks into more parts of the park so that we can expand on that.
There's a question later on. What else can we expect? So look forward to that. So obviously many more walking areas, so many things to do here with the new age area. One thing you also talked about, obviously it was complete quite a few months ago, was the pavilion. And how is that working out for the park?
It's fantastic. We use it sometimes for the yoga classes when there's rain. We've had lots of reservations in there. It's got some special features that no other pavilion around has. One of the things,
solar panels?
Solar panels is one. We also collect, well, with the solar panels, it also feeds into the grid.
Yes.
A pavilion doesn't use much energy during the week, especially in the summer. But we were able to feed everything back into the grid, so it becomes a money saver for us because it's generating income. We collect all the rainwater off of the pavilion, and it's used for flushing the toilets and the urinals in the bathroom. And when we went to the city to see what they wanted for plumbing code, they'd never encountered it, and we haven't found anybody south of Chicago that's done it.
Wow.
So it's a saver in a lot of ways. It's another sustainable practice.
As I said about 13, 14 months ago, that is some amazing technology, some unique things with that pavilion. So I guess to sum up things, Justin, a lot has changed at Lytle Park in the last 13, 14 months, and
there has.
There's literally every corner or part of the park now has something to do.
In the last year since we've talked, we've got the farmers market has moved to Lytle Park.
Great.
And we run it as a capitalistic free market. We don't charge for booth space. We don't reserve spots. It's first come, first serve. They can come and go as they please. Everybody really likes it. The parking is very convenient, and they also get a lot more foot traffic from the neighborhood around here. And then with that, Herbfest ended last year, and so some of the vendors asked if they could move it to Lytle Park, and we had the Herbfest here this spring in May, and it was a great success, and I'm sure it's just going to start growing like leaps and bounds.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
We've taped with you prior to really the pool getting all of its summer work in, but we're taping here toward the last part of July.
Yep.
How are things gone with the pool this summer?
Started out gangbusters. Our first 2 days we had 1,000 and 1,200 attendance. We've had a couple other days that have gone over 1,000 this year, but the first two were a real surprise. But we did have about a week of 80-degree plus weather before the pool opened, so I know that's what drove it. I carry about 52 employees during the year. About 42 of them are lifeguards.
Right.
That's the majority of my staff, but that's because the type of kids that will go through the effort to get a certification are active in school, active in sports, active in band, taking summer classes, and it gives us the ability to keep all of our hours covered.
My last question for you, Justin. We
Sure.
appreciate your time here on City Spotlight. You kind of told us a little bit about what's next, but are there any other things that we can look forward to coming up with Lytle Park that you'll keep on adding to?
Well, the sidewalks I mentioned. We are hoping to put up a new movie wall. The one we have is an old tennis backboard, and it's got some warps in it. So we're going to try to get a more substantial structure and maybe a little bit bigger so we can make the movie look larger for the audiences we have here. And we're looking at getting some trees put in after we get the next segment of sidewalks done, because the Bennett property doesn't have too many trees on it in the back area. But we're looking to put maybe 20 to 30 trees in this year.
More trees coming to Lytle Park. Sounds
Excellent.
pretty good. There's already plenty here. Justin, Grady of the Mattoon Township Park District, we appreciate your time here on City Spotlight again.
Thanks much. Appreciate
Thank you so
it.
much. And we'll wrap up this episode of City Spotlight with sights and sounds from the last day of Bagelfest, the 33rd Bagelfest from July 21st. We'll leave you with that on the City Spotlight episode on Mattoon. Thanks for watching.
Mattoon Bagelfest is started when the Lender's Bagel Company came to town, and so they said, hey, we want to introduce our product. We're going to have this free bagel breakfast. It started downtown Mattoon, and it still continues today. It's a kind of an iconic part of the event.
Scoot them over.
Good morning.
Good morning. Only two kinds this year, cinnamon raisin and plain.
Yeah, you already had the bagel. All right.
parade actually was interesting that people responded to the theme, which a lot of times is what happens. Of course, the weather didn't hurt anything because it's a beautiful day in Mattoon, but people really enjoyed the theme and were able to respond to that and have floats and participate. So it was a very big parade.
Wow, wow.
I know.
It's always amazing to me the number of sponsors, volunteers, and participants that come out and they get a chance to make sure that they have an opportunity to give back.
Got to give a little, take a little, and let your poor heart break a little. That's the story of, that's the glory of love.
I'm not originally from here. This is my 14th year, and every year I'm just amazed at the way people give and show up and are enthusiastic about their community. I say that I think the best of Mattoon shows up at Bagelfest. It's generosity, it's service, it's enthusiasm, and it's a pretty remarkable community.
The day that this is over with, you go ahead and start planning for the next one?
We take a small break, probably a couple of weeks, and then we start thinking, we've already got a couple things in the works for next year.
First place for the Good Old Dog Award is number 5, Roscoe.
I am the most proud about how people support it, the way they show up to volunteer, in the heat sometimes in the rain, but they show up to volunteer, they show up to support, they show up to sponsor. To me, that's a testament that it still works for everybody and they still want it here.
City Spotlight is supported by Consolidated Communications. CCI is honored to salute the cities and their leaders in the area, as well as providing TV, internet, and phone service to local homes and businesses. We live where we work and are proud to support the communities we serve. More information available at consolidated.com.